All right, guys. Couple reminders. Tuesday, when we get back from the long weekend, we'll play a Pictionary review game, and I'm going to give you that assignment, explain exactly what that is here in just a second. Simple task. You'll have time to work on that today in class a little bit. And then on Wednesday, your naturalist observation assignment is due. So, again, a couple questions about that before class started. It's really got three main parts, I guess four. You've got your hypothesis. Make sure that you write that before you can start conducting your observation. Try to make it as objectively written as possible. And then you have a paragraph, I believe, that should be summarizing, your an overview of your observation. And then a short paragraph about the conclusion and inferences about explanations of why you found what you found. You have to have a chart in there. You need to attach your handwritten notes during your observation, and then you also need to have a picture of yourself in the location, right? So make sure that you do that, and then just copy and paste that into the Google Doc. So you'll need a hard copy whenever you turn that in. Sound good? Any questions about that? Nope? All right. Let's knock out our belt work, and then we'll talk about participant-related biases today and research. I believe that's our topic. Yeah, participant-related biases. We'll talk about ethical guidelines on Tuesday, but participant-related biases today, and then your Pictionary review game. All right. Positive correlation. First off, what is a positive correlation? The arrows are what? Ms. Flanagan? They're headed up. Can they be both headed down?
Why not?
Why not? Right, that's correct. Okay, so the arrows are headed in the same direction. That's the idea. They don't necessarily both have to be heading up. Right? They can both be heading down. Right? Think about it this way: a negative number multiplied by a negative number equals a positive number. Everybody remember that? Positive correlation there. Okay. All right, examples of positive correlation came up with Griff.
Height and weight.
Height and weight. So the taller that you are, I guess the taller that you are, the more likely you are to weigh more, right? Your weight's going to go up there, okay? The shorter you are, more personal application, the less weight you will have, right? What else, Joel? Smoking and lung cancer. The more that you smoke, the higher likelihood that you're going to have with lung cancer. The less you smoke, decreased chances of having lung cancer. It's a good one. Connor.
Hard work and success.
Hard work and success. Interesting. So the more work you put into something, the more likely you are to have success, less work after you put into something, less likely success in that particular task, right? That's good. This book that I've been reading, Grit, it talks about deliberate practice. So they term hard work in a little bit a different approach there. Okay? We got one more positive correlation, Sarah.
Time spent studying versus the grade you get on a test.
Okay, so when you increase the amount of time you spend studying, and your grade's going to go up. Decrease the amount of time you spend studying, your grade's going to go down. Good stuff. All right. After we do the other one, I want to give you an example of a different type of correlation. I want you to classify it. Three negative correlations. So in this particular case, the arrows are headed in opposite directions, right? So when one arrow goes up, the other one going in the opposite direction, down, okay? So it's a positive number multiplied by a negative number, right? Mr. Albertson.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. When supply goes up, then the demand goes down, yep. And then when supply goes down, then the demand goes up, right? That's good stuff, That's a good one. Miss Munson?
The less time you spend studying for a test, the worse grade you get on the test.
The less time, the worse grade. Well, the arrows will still be going in the same direction
Or
there.
I guess more time spent not studying.
Okay. All right. I see what you're saying there. That may be a little bit of a challenge. Sawyer?
I said more absences means grade.
Alright, decreased grade. Number of absences go up, and grade goes down. That's a good one. And Miss Stoner?
The mileage of a car and
Decrease of the value of the vehicle, right? That's good. And the spurious correlation that we came up with, that we talked about yesterday, Miss Wiggins, Miss Balder.
Ice cream and weight, please.
Yep. So the key variable there that we're missing. What's the one that the variable actually matters?
Time of year.
Well, we can't say time of year because of geography. It could be time of year, but it's temperature, right? Temperature would be it. Would be the key variable, right? All right, let me give you another correlation, and you classify it as one of those three, okay? We've got IQ level and shoe size. IQ level and shoe size. Go ahead and talk to your partner about that real quick. Is it a positive correlation, negative correlation, or a spurious correlation? And an explanation. IQ levels and shoe size.
As far as that.
And you may want to write that one down because it's a good test question later on, and it gets a lot of people. Miss Callie, what we got?
Okay, well, we first said, spurious, but then we discussed.
Oh, you Googled it?
No. But then we thought that maybe, we thought like when you're younger, you have a smaller shoe size.
Uh-huh.
And you're not as, like your IQ level's low.
Uh-huh. And who said that?
So,
Oh, there. All right. Very insightful there, Sarah. All right. So that's what we're looking at. Okay. So it is a positive correlation. Okay. So you're young and your IQ is low. All right. At a younger age, and then your shoe size is really small. And as you grow and get older, then your shoe size increases, and what happens to your IQ? It goes up as well. Okay, so again, this is a correlation, not necessarily causation. There are exceptions to the rule, right? But more often than not, that's going to take place. Sound good? So a lot of us was it has spurious correlation. Nothing. It's actually a positive correlation. Okay. Any questions about that stuff? No. All right. Good discussion. Let's go ahead and change modes. And let me pull the notes up. I encourage you to come to this play for a moment. Down. You want to hear the last one for a second? Let you write down the title of our notes. Participant-related bias. We don't really talk about animals in research anymore, but participant-related biases. A long time ago, there was a lot of backlash of animal rights groups for, people in any field of research, medical field, psychology included, that animals were being mistreated. So there's been standards put in place that make sure that doesn't happen anymore in research. So that's the gist of it. Okay. All right. I don't want to start. All right. What is participant-related bias? It's a bias that's happened in research over the past 50 years or so that for the longest time went unrecognized. Right? Researchers didn't realize that there was a bias going on, and they just made the assumption that everything that we got as a result of the research that was going on is completely applicable. At least if the research was done here in the American culture, completely applicable to everybody in the American culture. Okay. However, more recently, people have started taking a larger approach to looking at the research, and they see some subtle bias. And so we want to make sure that we communicate that to you guys so that you guys understand that there's a possibility in some of the older research that we look at, but has a tendency to find some bias there. Okay, we're gonna look at population here and projections from 1960 to 2005 to 2050. Okay, so I believe this came out. It is about 10 years old, or a little bit over 2 years old down there. So you need to take that into consideration. So the numbers may be just a little bit off based off of the new projections. We'll have another census here in a year, so this is a census year, I believe, so we'll get more updated data pretty soon. But what do you notice about the percentage of the white population here in the American culture? It is drastically decreasing. It's going down, right, from 85% all the way down to 50%. And you notice that Hispanic population, the percentage of the American culture that's made up of the Hispanic population, is growing significantly. The African American population is having an aspect of continuity, and the Asian population is increasing. Okay, so why does that matter? Most research that's conducted here in the United States when it comes to analyzing human behavior, where is that research conducted? Anybody have any ideas where most psychological research is conducted? The location. Where do these researchers work? Do they have like institutions, buildings, and stuff like that that they have set off to the side that they work in? Where are most of them found?
Like colleges.
They're found on college campuses. Okay, so because they're found on college campuses, who do they have a tendency to use as the subjects of their research a lot of times? College students, right? Because they're readily available to them, right? And college students have a tendency to have free time, right, Mr. Blick?
Yeah.
A little bit of free time, and they have a tendency to volunteer quite a bit for research opportunities. You get paid to be a part of it, and college students are always looking for an opportunity to get money that way. Mr. Blick was telling me about some experiences.
Yeah, I used to donate plasma to make money. You would get like $70 a week by donating plasma.
To donate plasma?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty sweet gig.
That's awesome.
It's a fairly common conversation around college campuses. Is even back when I was in college, that was talked about quite a bit. Donating blood, donating plasma, donating whatever to try to get some money on the side that way. Okay, so college students have this mode of drive to participate in all this research. Okay, however, there's a little bit of a problem with that. Okay. Does a college campus accurately reflect the racial makeup of the United States? No, it does not. All right. The majority of college students have a tendency to be of what race? They have a tendency to be white. All right. So minorities have a tendency to be underrepresented in this research that's conducted on college campuses, and whites have a tendency to be overrepresented in this research that's conducted on college campuses. Okay, there's a couple other things that you need to take into consideration. It's not just race there's a bias and it's being skewed, right? What type of person is going to college? What is it? A wealthier person, right? A wealthier individual is going to college, so it's skewed concerning finances or social class, socioeconomic status. Okay, so that leads to a little bit of bias. There's other biases as well. What's the age group of an average college student? You're talking about your early to mid-20s, right? So there's bias in age as well. So all of these biases are considered to be participant-related biases. Right? Talk about why are most college campuses predominantly white. That's because of social class plays a role in it, creating a culture that for many years has elevated one particular race above the others. Okay. Other problems, again, I mentioned these: age, socioeconomic status, educational levels. That's where other areas other than just race where you'll find these bias in research, okay? Again, lack of representatives called participant-related biases, okay? Now let's talk about gender bias for a second, okay? On college campuses, well, I like to say that there's not an abnormal imbalance of males and females on campuses, but the reality is it's getting more and more off, right? Has anybody heard about that? There's more females on college campuses today than males, actually. Okay, is that the case in ISU?
As a campus,
Yeah,
I don't know. I know in the history department, there's a lot more men than there are women.
I can understand that.
Like my wife's grad school program is all women.
It's all women, right? And she's in psychology, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something we talk about a little bit later, but we can throw it out there now. Psychology used to be a science that was dominated by men in the early to mid 20th century, 1900s. Today is quite the opposite. The majority of degrees and master's degrees and professional degrees in the area of psychology, the majority of them, we're talking like 75%, 60-75% are going to women today, right? So it is a subject area dominated by women, okay? However, with the research, going back to this, when conducting research on gender only, researchers back at the beginning of the 20th century, they would specify if the study is completely female but not male, right? They would specify if it was female but not male, okay? So, what does this tell us? They wouldn't say anything if the entirety of the research was completely male, right? Because the assumption was that male was the norm and that female was not the norm. So that's why they would come out and specify saying that they included females. Everybody got that? So you can see a very strong bias of saying that males are normal and including females in the study is not normal, okay? So now that doesn't happen today, but you got to take that in consideration when you're looking at Albert Bandura's research back, in the middle of the 20th century, okay? Or John Watson's stuff at the beginning of the 20th century with Little Albert stuff, okay? So there's a lot of bias going on. All right, this is all about ethics, and we're going to wait on this until Tuesday. Sound good? So we're going to stop there, all right? Does anybody have any questions about participant-related biases, okay? Do researchers purposely go out there and make sure that there's a bias in their research? No, they don't purposely do it. They try to do the best that they can to try to make sure that there's not a bias, but there's unintended consequences of doing their research on college campuses. Okay, bias just naturally works its way into the research. Okay, so for the longest time, people didn't realize it, recognize it, know about it. Now we do. All right, so an awareness is a healthy approach to studying research. Okay, all right. We're going to pass the hat around. Take one, and we're going to go all the way around the room. If it gets to Mr. Ogg and there's still some left, we're going to start passing it back the other way, and you'll get another one. All right? Now, some of us may end up with two. Griff is likely to end up with one. All right? And his classmates, peers over here on this side. Okay, the next time, what we'll do is we'll start over here. All right, and move the other way. You're more likely to end up with two the next time. You guys more likely end up with one the next time. Okay? All right. So this, a little review game that we do. I got it from Miss Axelson. Like the idea. What you're going to do is you're going to take like a half sheet of notebook paper, or a sheet of notebook paper. It doesn't bother me. If you want to split it and share it with a partner, decrease the amount of paper that we use, that would be a good idea. What your task is you've got a term that we've talked about in some way, some fashion, here in class, so far over the course of the last 2 weeks, okay? And what you need to do is you need to draw an image that kind of reflects that idea. You can't go to Google Images and copy and paste stuff, right, and print it out. I want you to have hand draw it a little bit. Now, you can go to Google Images and get ideas. That doesn't bother me. But you need to hand draw it, okay? Now, I will allow you to, in addition to your image, put one clue word underneath the image. Sound good? So that's like a helpful hint. Now again, this is one word. It's not a phrase down at the bottom. The word the counts. I'm pretty specific on this. Okay? So you can't have two words. You can have one word down at the bottom. The other thing to keep in mind, for some reason I have to say this. The one clue word down at the bottom can't be the answer. Right? And it can't be any form of the answer. So I'll give you an example. Global culture, if you talk about a guy named Jared Diamond, Guns, Germs, and Steel guy, right? So they thought it'd be creative by writing the word diamond down at the bottom. And they were thinking, I know, like a diamond ring. Okay? They weren't thinking about, it's the same, it's the answer. So don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. That gives it away. We want it to be challenging, but attainable. Right? What you draw. And with your clue word. Now, in addition to the image and the clue word that you put down, this is probably the most important thing when it comes to organization. You have a number, right, on your slip of paper, yes, or the two slips of paper that you have. That number for that image needs to go in the top left-hand corner. It needs to be uniform so we all know where to look for that particular number. We're going to be able to use that to keep ourselves organized when it comes to answering these questions. So number in the top left-hand corner. If you happen to have two terms, one of the lucky people there, you need to make sure that you write it on two separate sheets of paper. Do not put it on front and back. Alright, because if you do it front and back, we can't work with that. We can work with two separate sheets of paper, but not front and back. Sound good? The other thing to consider, things that I have found, cheaters. Don't put words in your image. You get one clue word to put down at the bottom. You can't include words in your image. Sound good? No numbers in your image. Alright? This is not hangman. So you don't put dash, 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 or blank, 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 blank. This is how many letters are in the word down at the bottom. You can't do that either. Sound good? Trying to think if there's any other rules. That's about it. Does anybody have any questions? Number in the top left-hand corner, and then make sure that you're ready to go when it comes Tuesday, and we'll challenge each other with these terms. It's a good way for us to. We're not quite to the halfway mark of the first chapter, but we're getting closer. Good opportunity for us to stop and review a little bit. Okay. All right, you got a little bit of time to work on that. If you happen to finish up with that, you will have a little bit of time. You can probably talk to your partner about what's going on with the naturalistic observation assignment. Make sure everybody's on the same page there. Get your delegated responsibilities taken care of. Sound good? Question?
Do we have to do it with our partner?
You do not.
Okay.
If you have communicated that with your partner, then say, hey, I'd like to do it separately, that's fine. Okay? As long as everybody's on the same page. All right, I'll let you guys work. Okay?
Yeah.
I might take your extra copies, Mr. Glue. And I usually take the extras, and there's drawers on this side, and I'll put them here, and that way, if they come back in, they want extra copies for students that haven't been there, and they'll be in that uniform spot.
And